Hari Om, Bhagavad Gita, Daivasura Sambat Vibhaga Yoga, chapter 16, verse 22. In the last verse, Bhagwan Krishna said, there are three gates to Naraha, namely desire, anger, and greed. So, avoid these three gates. This is what Bhagwan Krishna said in verse 21. Now, verse 22. एतैर्विमुक्तः कौन्तेय तमोद्वारैस्त्रिभिर्नरः आचरत्यात्मनः श्रेयः ततो याति परां गतिम्. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, Naraka here is called darkness. That is tamas. Naraka is the place where viveka, discrimination, is obscure. That is, discrimination is not there or hidden. This means there is predominance of delusion and therefore no sukha, happiness is not there. When there is no viveka buddhi, the mind functions altogether in a different manner. If you don't have discrimination, naturally you function like an animal. What is the difference between an animal and a human being? Only discriminative intellect. Everything has got intellect. Every animal has got its own intellect. What makes the difference is discriminative intellect. That viveka buddhi, if it is lacking, then the mind functions in a different manner. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, Nara here means a human being. Na riyate iti naraha is the imperishable Atma which does not get destroyed. The Nara, if he is not rooted in Kama, Krodha and Lobha, then he uses his Viveka Buddhi. Therefore, he lives a life of good contact which will lead him to ultimate good. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, even to free oneself from Kama, Krodha and Lobha, one must have some Viveka Buddhi. Everyone, including a child, will have Kama, Krodha and Lobha. That is natural. But to free from these three requires a lot of Viveka. With sufficient viveka, a person can pursue what is good for him. It may be artha, it may be kama, dharma or moksha. But the real shreyas is moksha only. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, for example, security, that is artha, is not going to be found in gaining and protecting things which must inevitably be lost. Because whatever you earn, whatever you want to keep, one day it will leave you or you will leave them. It is not possible in this world, in the changing world. It is impossible to keep everything with you. So if you think artha is security, then I think it is foolishness. The real security is not being afraid of anything, and that is only moksha. Similar is the case of Kama and Dharma. The real Purushartha behind every pursuit is moksha. Previously, this person was tied down to Kama, Krodha and Lobha. Hence, he could not pursue any Purushartha successfully. Now, he is a Vimukta. Yedair Vimukta Kaundeya. He is a Vimukta. That means he is free from all these three. Hence, he is able to follow proper conduct. Acharatyatmana shreyaha. Then if he follows proper conduct, the natural result is he gains the most desirable end. Tado yadi param gati. Adi Shankara says it could even be moksha. That is what Swami Dayananda Saraswati says. Swami Chinmayananda says, Those who avoid these three dangerous paths, that is kama, krodha, and lobha, which will lead to self destruction, will steadily progress on the path of their life's goal. To wander into these three fields, that is desire, anger, and greed, is to dissipate all our energies. In that case, the seeker is not strong enough to meet the challenges that arise within himself. These three are emotions: kama, krodha, and lobha. All three are emotions arising within us. So, if you dissipate through these channels, then you don't have energy to face their challenge. That is what Swami Chinmayananda says. To overcome the strong temptations, the mind and intellect equipment must be tuned so that the person is able to strive hard and effectively achieve self expansion. Now we are saying myself only. You have to expand yourself. He who is avoiding these three gates to darkness, that is tamas, which are sure to lead him into deeper and deeper confusions and despairs, and ultimately take him to subhuman levels of existence. He will be practicing what is good for him. If you avoid these bad qualities, the kama, krodha, and lobha, naturally you will be practicing what is good for him, what is good for you. Swami Chinmayananda says the term Shreyas has no equal word of the same import in English. Acharat yatmana shreyaga. That Shreyas, that word, has no equal word of the same import in English. I think it is true for many of the Sanskrit words. But here Swami Chinmayananda says the Shreyas has no equivalent word in English. It does not mean merely good, but it has a deeper import. Shreyas, when practiced, it not only brings happiness to the practitioner, whoever is practicing it, but also contributes much to the well being of the people around him. Swami Chinmayananda says the seeker, thus progressing in the right direction, goes to the supreme goal. Cultural unfoldment cannot be a miraculous overnight development. Today morning, I think, okay, I will cut out my kama, krodha, and lobha. Then tomorrow morning, I will be a best person. Impossible. It is not a overnight development. Swamiji says the bud should grow, open, and blossom. Similarly, the unfoldment will happen under the careful nourishment of study discipline, a vigorous study of scriptures, and perfect understanding. The unfoldment is more difficult than that of a flower because that is natural, it automatically evolves. Whereas man, he has to overcome all these difficulties. Even at 60, even at 80, it may not happen. A wonderful question is raised by Swami Chinmayananda and answered by him. This verse explains to the seeker what is to be avoided by him and indicates how he will thereby have a positive development and inner growth. How, Swamiji questions, how positive growth can be affected as a result of the denial of a negative acts. For example, avoiding bad food can preserve health, but it cannot give you the positive joy of a healthy full dinner. Similarly, avoiding the dissipation of energies through desire, anger, and greed, it may perhaps end all the agitations caused by these three. But how that can create any positive development to a seeker? Bhagwan Krishna says that such an individual practices what is good for him. Acharat yatmana shreyaga. He practices. Swami Chinmayananda says A mind can either choke or boost up the spiritual progress depending upon how we empower it. In an injudicious life of brazen indulgences, the discriminating ability gets thwarted and turmoil follows. It is in the dim shadows of darkness, that is tamas or ignorance, rajas has a free run. In tamas only, rajas has a free run. The ensuing agitations that burden the mind and study slide into sorrow are more obvious. So if you are in tamas, rajas takes over. Then naturally, instead of moving up, you go down. Therefore, Swami Chinmayananda says, mental purification forms the basis of self culture. The technique involves safeguarding the mind from evil tendencies that depletes the energies. Sadhana is not meant to be a penalizing exercise. In fact, forsaking something that positively ruins the mind's potential is just as vital as keeping off junk food that harms the body. You are avoiding the bad tendencies means you are avoiding the junk food. You are not eating that roadside oily food. I can make it this way, very simple. A bread bhaji put in that bread pakoda or samosa in that dark oil they put and give it to you. If you continuously eat, you have to suffer. So avoiding junk food. Similarly, you avoid the bad tendencies. Despite the pleasure it may yield to the taste buds, when you eat, it will be very tasty. Similarly, when you have these tendencies, desire, anger, and greed, it may satisfy you naturally. You may have some, if you achieve that, you may have some satisfaction. But it is obligatory requirement to revitalize the mind. It takes a robust mind to brave stormy challenges that lash from within. With mental dissipation considerably curtailed by removing the three negativities, the mind regains its poise, its calmness significantly, making it steady in contemplation. Soon enough, the seeker goes to the supreme goal. Tado yadi param gati. That is what Swami Chinmayananda says. It is not very easy as a normal human being. I don't think it is. That is what Swamiji also, both Swami Dayananda Saraswati and Swami Chinmayananda says. It is not an easy thing. You can't say, sir, tomorrow onwards there will be no karma, no anger, no this thing. The moment you finish Bhagavad Gita, immediately we may get some desire, we may get some anger. Uh, I think yesterday also Swami Dayananda Saraswati said, initially you should try to contain your greediness. By curtailing your greediness, then naturally you are reducing the anger. Because more the greediness, more the anger. Less the greediness, less the anger. So when anger is getting reduced, then we can try and contain the desire. So for happiness, this is very, very important. Otherwise, it is impossible. The mind will be always agitated. That is what Bhagwan Krishna says in this verse. Verse 23 again. Yeter vimukta kaundeya tamodvaraistribirnaragam acharatyatmana shreyagam tado yadi param gadim. Next verse we will see tomorrow. Arihom Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Narayana 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 Narayana